You brought up the Scav being a random map.
And everybody loved it.
What? How? I've never seen an idea pitched by anyone. Jesus himself could come down from the heavens and be like, you know what I think would be good for Tarkov? And
Free Pop-Tarts for everyone.
Chat would rip it apart. I swear to God, Veritas, I sat here, my jaw was on my desk as I was watching this chat of 10,000 people agree on something. The fact that Nikita didn't immediately end the podcast and go implement that blew my mind. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, the show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games, with a heavy focus on the first-person shooter Escape from Tarkov. I am one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam, an Escape from Tarkov YouTuber and content creator.
And I am Veritas, the guy who forgets that he, at this very moment, usually comes up with something clever to say, so he has nothing clever to say. It's like I didn't do my fucking homework.
Yeah. But your homework normally starts when I start the intro, right? Like
I do my homework in homeroom. I do my homework in homeroom, you know, for my first period class. But this time I, had to show off my Pokemon cards or whatever in homeroom, so I forgot.
Your PSA 10 Charizard.
Yeah,
I think I said that right. I know nothing about Pokemon cards. I'm
just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you probably said it wrong, but I don't even know what you said.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was on the podcast. I played some Tarkov. It's a heavy focus on Tarkov. We're back again.
There's things. There's stuff and things.
Yeah.
You get the joy of reliving that hour and a half just over again. And it was like 3 hours ago, and you get the pleasure of doing it again because I've got stuff to say.
I had to mentally prepare for it, then do it, then play Tarkov for an hour and a half. And then now I got to talk about it and not sound like a bitter
Wow. Vile words. Okay. So I figured I wanted to ask this before we start going through line items. We don't have patch notes, but I did just take notes of everything that was said, just the big, each big thing, just so we can touch on as much or as little as we want. But before we dive into the line items, how are you feeling about the game after that podcast? Understanding, you were alluding to this beforehand, when I came in during that last Labs raid, you were talking about how there's a difference between you were saying I wasn't getting talked over. I could have talked more. I just didn't feel like my questions, understanding that there's 5 people on the podcast. That's always hard, translation, whatever. But pulling out the spirit of everything you think Nikita was saying, you know what I mean? How does that make you feel about the game and the next year?
Oh God. All those caveats.
I just didn't want it to be well, I didn't get to talk so much. That, you know what I mean? It's just but based on what he actually said, the meat and potatoes of that podcast, how did that make you feel?
I mean, for the most part, my summary is just kind of more of the same. I hate to say it, but it's nothing. I don't see anything different. But what I do see, there was a period of time where maybe it's because I stepped away for a little bit, but maybe it's because, maybe Nikita I wasn't talking with Nikita, or BSG wasn't as vocal.
Yeah.
But there was a time where it was you dump all this feedback on them and you hope something will change. Mm-hmm. And then nothing, there's this silence, and you're oh my God, imagine if they come back with here are all the changes and everything, but then when after an extended period of time, you come back and it's hey, here's something that proves that we never really listened, or no, we listened, but we, probably didn't quite understand or get the nuance of whatever. And we're probably going to make a lot of the same sort of mistakes. And, when I heard about the streamer mode and the description of it, it was my first time hearing about it. And it was just it's not that it's bad. It's just, it's another one of those things that's it doesn't fix a problem. The problem isn't understood. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's a huge part. We can get to the streamer mode thing, but that's a huge part of the big question marks that surround these podcasts, because like that streamer mode that he described is different from the streamer mode that they originally described when they first talked about it.
I don't even remember them originally talking about it. What was the original?
It was on Red 7 community podcast. They were talking about like the whole, that was the podcast that wanted to talk about point firing and hip firing, and that was all when Nikita gave us a lot of info about like we're bringing low ready and we're doing that. And in that, they talked about a streamer mode. And as I understood it after watching that podcast back, you know what I mean? It was a more traditional, you turn it on, and when somebody kills me, that when they pick up my tag, they just see player 36472. And my identity is masked so that you don't know if you killed me, so that you're not stream sniping me. And in the menus, like when at the post raid, it still just says player 64393.
Like but Discord,
today,
like Discord streamer mode.
Yes, and every other video game streamer mode ever made. And then today, it felt like I walked away from that feeling like it was a miscommunication from Nikita. And then people were taking the face value of what he was saying, and he thought he was saying the right thing. I could be way off base, but that's what I took it as, because what he said was like, yeah, it hides your name so you don't see other people's names. And yeah, it's like that doesn't affect me at all. Like, you know what I mean?
He said that. So, but it seems to me like at least the conversation would have went down as, I am a streamer, and my biggest problem is I get harassed and stream sniped by people with racist names. Like that is the only that's the only problem that was addressed. Their solution would solve. But that's literally like
that's not I don't think that's the solution. I think Sigma was just a little confused, because at first she was like, why would we want to hide the players' names? And we were like, well, you can turn it on or off. Like it's and she was like, oh, like I think there was just confusion. Yeah, I think like that might happen, right? Where some dudes with super racist name, chase down Landmark on his servers and kill him and try to do that. But I would say that's
the problem
like
is the name and the game, and that he can stream snipe.
I was about to say, it's like, that's like 1%. I think, 70% is I watch Deadly all the time, and he'll kill one of a 3-man. And then 20 seconds go by, and then it immediately starts getting sus as hell. And that's because the one of the 3-man goes, I know that, Deadly Slob is Bob Lashart's, and I'm going to go watch his stream and tell you where he is. That happens. I would say that's 75 to 90% of the stream sniping that happens in this game. Like, and if Deadly killed all 3 of them and couldn't see any of their names, that doesn't help that at all. They need to not see Deadly's name. They need to not see, but that was what was originally laid out. And then at the very end on the podcast today, as you guys were moving away from that subject, Nikita said like, yeah, it's so that people don't stream snipe you. He said, and then it would just moved on. And that was like, I think there was communication. Like, I think it is what we want it to be. And I think he just didn't, I don't know. I could be way off, but it was
I don't know. Who was it that said, whoever the first person to mention, like, oh, well, if people have like racist names.
Yeah, I don't know, but somebody, I don't remember. I
thought it was Nikita.
I don't know.
Maybe it might have been Pest. I'm not sure, but like, that's just one of those things. Like, that solution should be fixed by like being able to report names or that are filters or whatever, right? Like that has nothing to do. Nobody is going to get banned on Twitch if a name pops up in a video game that's a racist name and you like click away from it, like that. Nobody's going to get in trouble for something like that.
Yeah.
Because that would be absurd.
That's actually the only way a name can get reported in Tarkov right now. Well, there's 2 ways. There's in the menu, but there's if you have a racist name and you kill me.
Oh, I can't report from your dog tag.
Yeah, I can report you if you kill me, but if I have that version of streamer mode on, I don't see your name, so I wouldn't report you, right? But if I kill you with the racist name, I can't report you from your dog tag, and I've just got your racist dog tag in my stash.
And if you're stream sniping and cheating, and your name is hidden, I'll never know it.
Yeah.
So what it actually does is it obscures the problem. It makes it like out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
So you can be getting completely wrecked by cheating or stream snipers. And what streamer mode, as it was understood by most of us, what that does is it basically says that nothing will change except you won't know it anymore.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's why I really thought that there was a miscommunication there. Like, we need to seek more information, but it's just so simple. It doesn't have to be implemented. It's just
So that's why it was like, I thought I said something. I might have just been thinking it, and I didn't want to like open up my mouth because it was like most of the time when this happens, I just get shit on by all the randos in chat, and they're just like, well, beating a dead horse, beating it. But I'm like, it's important to like, if my name wasn't visible when I was loading into a raid, or when I looked at a dog tag, or when I opened up my stats screen, that would go really far. You can change your name to something that's not your stream name, but you can only do it once every couple of weeks. And if someone really wanted to
100%.
harass you, they watch you, they figure out your name is I'm not a streamer 123, and they know that I'm not a streamer 123 is Veritas, right?
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
like it doesn't fix the problem.
And I understand there's a lot of other stuff to talk about tonight with that podcast, but I've even seen people in the chat be like, well, there's more important problems. It's like, look, I don't think either of us disagree with that. The calling card of Battlestate Games is they decide they're going to implement something, they implement it backwards, and then that causes more work. The conversation we're having is we need to make sure that if they've decided they're going to do it, and we think they're going to do it backwards, that causes more work, which means your precious maps and guns and all the things you want take longer. So that's what we're talking about here. We just want to make sure that everything is implemented right the first time. You know what I mean? We're not deciding for them what gets implemented into the game or not. They decide it. They just, on the podcast today, talked about something they're doing, and the way they talked about it doesn't solve the problem. And we're just like, hey, let's make sure that
I brought this up in the context. I brought this up in the context of how do you feel? And it was like, this is just one more example of them being extremely confident about a fix for a thing that proves they don't understand the problem.
Yeah.
And they also haven't thought through the fix.
Yeah.
So they haven't thought about the problem and they haven't thought about the fix. It's just like a gut reaction.
Yeah.
You can apply that to every single feature they will ever do, whether it's networking, whether it's anti-cheat, whether it's whatever. Like, so that's the only thing is that like that's always been my biggest issue. And that was just one example of it's like, you would think that would cause some red flags, you know what I mean? Like, but anyway.
So, but I mean, after that podcast, I left feeling weird. I just felt like, I don't know, like, I just felt like not sad, but just like a little down. Like, there's a lot of stuff I'm excited for, but I don't know, that avalanche effect that he's been talking about, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we've just been waiting for that. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like we've been talking about that for like a year or two. This like, once we get some of this stuff down, it's all going to start coming together. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know. So we can hop in. So like he was talking about 12.11, which is the next, biggish patch that's going to happen. One of the big things is the factory expansion. And did you see the screenshots of that?
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. I think anytime that they do new map stuff, that's always like the bomb. Like, a new map or an expansion to a map provides infinitely more content than like a brand new gun, right? Because I can play this map and it changes how I play this map, and I can put thousands of hours into this map.
Holy shit. Wait, it just occurred to me. Wow. Okay, wait a minute. I'm just putting two and two together in my fucking head.
Okay.
And this is probably something that was like obvious to everybody, but a lot of the screenshots, when I was picturing them in my head, it reminds me of a lot of the customs expansion and some of the buildings in customs. I remember seeing like those circular silos and the ramp, and I remember being like, oh, that looks like, and then I realized factory is in customs.
Yeah.
Like, so are the buildings like,
Yeah.
Eventually, are they just going
match
to delete
up?
factory and just make one of those buildings like in the middle of customs, the ones that looks kind of like?
That would be crazy.
Because that's where it is. It's literally one of those big warehouses.
Yeah.
In customs.
Yeah. And then that would be nuts because it would be through customs, through factory, because factory is going to have a labs access, apparently, is what they said eventually. So
yeah,
it's all coming together. So I'm super excited for this factory. So it's like I'm super excited for factory stuff. You know, there was a lot of people were on the fence about it because a lot of people love factory for what it is. You know, the closest thing to an arena, the really quick get in, the PvP is in and out in like a few seconds. I was really excited. I'm all about like make everything bigger, slow everything down, add a bunch more players. Like I really was hoping that factory would be something that would be viable as like a duo to be like fun. Because right now, if you run duos on that, you just kind of feel like you're steamrolling. You know what I mean? You just like work your way through. He said it's not too big, and the pictures that they showed definitely didn't add a whole lot. Like there were a bunch of people that like placed them and like mapped them out on like where it would fit in factory. They think. He said that the pictures didn't show everything, but he said it's not going to be too big. And then he said only one additional PMC is going to be added, which wouldn't that bring it back up to what factory was? It like was 6, and then now it's 5, and they'll bring it back to 6.
Hopefully, it would make the spawns not shit.
Yes, that is very true.
That's my one hope.
But so I was subjectively a little disappointed because I wanted it to be like 10 or 12 people, which meant like a 2-man could go in and have a good time and do the thing. But I still haven't seen it. I'm still very excited. Their map design is one of the most consistently praised things, right? Like every time they release a map, everybody's like, damn, it's just good. You know what I mean? Or an expansion or whatever. So I mean, Customs is like a completely different map than when I started playing back in 0.9. You know what I mean? Like 2 different expansions, overhauls. It's just, and it's like great. So Scav Boss, that's going to be super interesting. I mean, he talked about that for a little bit. He's going to have the hammer. You're not going to be able to loot it. He's going to smash you with it. And maybe he'll have some minions if he's too easy to kill. Right?
Yep.
Interesting. The Smasher Man. 12-11 will also have Scav Karma, which is super interesting. He talked about that a little bit. Like talking about like hiring your rep with fence will actually give you access to like purchasable gear. Yeah, it was like yes, the insurance, which affects your PMC, because that was a question we had. It was like, if I'm upgrading fence's level, how does that affect my Scav? Because you can only purchase things for your PMC, right? So. But I guess that's how it is. I guess it'll just be a weird open market of uninsured items that you can purchase at level 2, which will be kind of cool. Like, I feel like there's a lot of mags and guns and, you know, stuff that go uninsured. They just have to, we've talked about this before too, they have to rework how Fence prices things. He prices things way more expensive than the flea market. So it would
it needs to be 60% of the market
it would be
value, not 120.
It would be irrelevant if it was all worth more. He would just infinitely fill up with stuff. But if it was like check Fence, because you might get a slick for, you know, 50% of what you get on the flea, well, then that's a reason to pursue this game loop and check Fence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And someone's asking, what about insured and unclaimed gear?
Yeah.
What does that mean? That's what insurance is for. If it was unclaimed, then you get it back in insurance.
Yeah.
Like if nobody picks it up, then you.
Yeah. When you insure something, it either leaves the raid with somebody or you get it back in insurance. So it's just uninsured. Unclaimed as an expired insurance.
Apparently they're talking about all of that. Then fucking Prop4 keeps it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe they definitely didn't like specifically say that. That would be interesting. It would just be, you have like days to claim it, so it would just. But maybe they'll pull from that too. It would make sense. It's not crazy to think that, but I don't know. So Scav Karma, I mean, he talked a little bit about stuff we know, like if you kill other Scavs or Scav bosses, then the next raid, you'll almost like start Tagged and Cursed. Like you'll start that next Scav raid.
Which like most people, I as a Scav, that's like my default.
Yeah.
Like I'm aggro on fucking everybody I see pretty much instantly.
For sure. But this could potentially shift that balance and then punish you if you don't want to shift, because if there's rewards to doing it a different way. It's interesting. Oh, can we please? So this was happened at the end of the podcast, but it's related to this, so we need to have a moment right now, Veritas.
I'm ready.
You brought up the Scav being a random map,
and everybody loved it.
What? How? I've never seen an idea pitched by anyone. Jesus himself could come down from the heavens and be like, you know what I think would be good for Tarkov? And
Free Pop-Tarts for everyone.
Chat would rip it apart. I swear to God, Veritas, I sat here, my jaw was on my desk as I was watching this chat of 10,000 people agree on something. The fact that Nikita didn't immediately end the podcast and go implement that blew my mind, because there's just never been a time in this game's history where we all agreed on something so quickly. Veritas, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. And then I was immediately incredibly frustrated because Nikita didn't say a single word about it. So here's the thing. I love Pestilent, and I actually really like, we can talk about this later. I really like the idea of a quick queue for a PMC where I don't know. Holy content. I'm bringing an SMG. I'm on woods. I wouldn't normally do this. Now I have to. How does that play out? I'm in. I'm so in. But I was frustrated that conversation took a hard 90 into the PMC quick thing, and then because of that, Nikita never said a word about it. And I was so sad because I was like, put me in the game, coach. I was like, Nikita, please say something. Tell me if you don't like that, because everybody in the whole world just agreed it's a good idea. And if you don't like it, that's fine. It's your game. Just tell me, because now we're in this weird spot where, dude, I was so mad that he never said anything about it, because
that happens a lot, dude.
So
that happens a lot when someone makes like a super good, and I'm sure that I am one of those people who also steers it in one direction, but like sometimes someone makes a really salient point and it's like, boom, the hammer dropped. Yeah. And it's like, Nikita, and then someone else is like, that reminds me of something completely fucking totally different, or they make a joke or whatever, and it's like, you know, like, fuck,
or somebody
now,
says, or somebody says that won't work because of this, and then they've changed the conversation, they've changed the tone of the conversation. I want Nikita to respond first, then we can talk about what we think. But like,
it's almost like, think about all the podcasts where I'm on and people are like, dude, Veritas, drop it. He answered your question. It's like, no, nobody answered the thing I'm talking about, because it just keeps getting fucking jerked around to where other people are mentioning things. And it's not just the team. It's not usually the team. Usually when it's bigger podcasts.
Yeah, like 10 or 11 people. Like,
but it's like, it's the same exact thing that happened with fucking Zeroing back in the day. It just, it's just one more thing that, you know, is obvious.
I'll start a petition. I don't know what I need to do. It was like, it's because that's not like, don't get it twisted. I don't think that's going to fix the game or anything. Like, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. It's a small thing, but it was just so few times do we all agree on something. And it doesn't seem like that would take a lot of work. It seemed like the community agreed. It'd be really easy to reverse if for some godforsaken reason it broke the game. It seemed like, I don't know.
That's something I can objectively say from an engineering standpoint. It's simple.
Yeah. Like, wasn't there at least a discussion about it? Why didn't Nikita say something? Why can't we? I was just sad because it's like I don't want to make it appear to be this like game changing. It's gonna fix it and bring balance to the force, and everyone's gonna be excited. And I was just sad to see that one come and go so quick, because it unified everybody in chat for a minute. You know what I mean?
And there's so much that we could have talked about it too, right? It would help that it would help queue times. Yep. It would make it impossible for anybody to, well, not impossible. It would essentially remove all ability for anybody to abuse the scav, as in either stream sniping or trying to get in on the same raid you just died in, which I'm fine with. But but also if they coded it so that you couldn't do that, I'd be fine with it too.
Yeah.
I mostly just like getting a second chance, but I don't think that you necessarily should be able to. But what that does is it makes it so that rather than it be you have a 1 out of X chance, X being do you get put on the same instance of the game on the same server you've chosen? Now it's you have to get put on the same server, on the same time, in the same map.
Yep.
You know, like it makes it so that you're what? How many maps are there? 8
like
or
6
something?
or 7, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, multiply, divide the chances by that, and then multiply it by 2, or divide by 2 again.
Yep.
It's just making it so much less likely that those annoying things that we would pretty much all like to avoid.
And it affects all the other maps, because like maps like Woods, where you don't see any player scavs, you actually might see player scavs, and the fights might be more engaging. A map like Woods, if you've killed 6 PMCs on Woods, you can basically lollygag your way to extract. Nobody extract camps, and all the other PMCs are gone or dead. You're fine. On reserve, you're never fine, right? And everybody knows that. And Nikita talked about that, and he likes that. When you guys were talking about extract campers, he was talking about that. He's like, I like that you never know. And it's like you would bring a portion of that to the other maps, because like on Woods, you'd be like, dang, is there a player scav? Because they didn't pick here, but you better believe that there are people here. It makes reserve infinitely more playable for somebody like me, who that's like at least 40% of the reason why I don't play there as much. It just felt like such a win-win that just got glossed over.
And that goes full circle back to what I was saying before, where it's like it's why part of why I am regarded widely as a broken record. But it's like every time something like that comes up, I try to hammer home, here's another reason why this makes sense. Here's another reason why this makes sense. Because Nikita was like, he doesn't like exit campers, he doesn't like bush campers, he doesn't like all these things. And it's like, Nikita, that's why you fucking implement better spawns, and you implement this and you implement that, because like his only joke was like, oh, I'm gonna make it so you get banned. It's like, I know that was a joke, but it just proves that like everything is if you see everything as a nail, if you're a hammer, then everything looks like a nail, or whatever the fucking saying is. Like, you need to look at the problem in a different way to solve it, right? So like with the scav thing, I was like, that would genuinely help. Just like adding more spawns and doing all these other things would help this other problem. Yeah. Because we need to look at these things from what's the problem, what's the real problem, not what's a symptom of the problem, and then let's try to fix one of the symptoms, but then the problem never goes away. Yeah. Literally, almost everything wrong with Tarkov is a result of that mindset where they're just not good at figuring out what the root cause of something is, and then figuring out what the solution is. Yeah.
So that was just one of those things where it was so linked in what I thought to like Scav Karma. You talked about it much later, and I was just really, really sad. I'm not this guy, but I'm like, who do I got to DM? I'll DM Dimitri, Pestle. I don't care. Like I just need something. It felt like a great idea, but we don't have to harp on it. But the Scav Karma is coming in 12.11. I guess we should have said this earlier for the podcast people, but there's no wipe in 12.11.
And the wipe is not planned at all.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was weird. He didn't say wipe. He didn't say no wipe with 12.11. He was like, wipe, no wipe planned, not in weeks or months. Like, he was just like, it's not even on our
very
radar
matter of fact.
yet.
Like, it's so further. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do feel like that was a shock to the system. That's why, bro, I felt as sad as I was, I felt very vindicated, because like, you know how many times in chat I have been told, not asked, told by a chat member that a wipe will come in 12.11. I'm like, maybe. You don't know that. And here we are. And it's like, people just like, yeah, dude, when it wipes in 12.11. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, and I thought it was my guess too. I was like, I bet they will, maybe, but I always tried to, like, when people were asking, I was like, no, it has not been confirmed. We have not heard Nikita say the word wipe since the last wipe. Like, don't go out there saying it's gonna wipe when, and it's like, woof. And then what's gonna happen is like 12.11 will come out, and then the same thing will happen. People like, well, when it wipes with 12.12, and nobody will ever learn their lesson. But no wipe, it's not on the radar. 12.11 is next. Scav Karma, Factory Boss, the first iteration of weapon malfunctions, which is still confusing to me because weapons malfunction in the game right now.
Yeah, but that's a bug, not with the weapon, but with the game.
No, they're like the guns jam when you get them down to low enough durability.
I genuinely think that that's like a bug.
Oh yeah, well maybe.
Like the
And
feature
maybe
is,
not all the
half
guns.
baked and it's in the game, but it
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Yeah.
They forgot to comment that out.
They'll have to change how quickly durability goes, right? Like
Well,
I play
because
this. I
you
play
used
this
to be
game
able to
for a living, and I can't keep a gun for more than 3 raids. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it would just never. You know what I mean? And after 3 raids, it's at 94% durability. Like, they're just. You know what I mean?
Now,
it's like.
Sorry.
Now. Is that a Sour Patch Kid or a Mike and Ike?
Mike and Ike. Oh God, it hurts. Wrong pipe. Fuck. What was I gonna say? I don't remember. I deep throated a Mike and Ike, and then here we are.
I'm talking about durability needs to change.
Oh yeah,
faster.
And I will say that if guns that weren't insured are on the Scav, sorry, my God, I'm losing my mind here. On fence, then it could be that there are more used guns around.
Yes, true. But I do feel like most people insure their guns. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, dude. I insure everything all the time. There are some people that are like, why do you insure anything? So there's probably some percentage of
for
people.
Sure. I would agree that there's got to be some percentage, but I feel like on the list, it's like when I start not insuring things, like I don't insure my backpack first, then maybe my rig if it's not armored, then maybe my helmet. Like I'll always insure my gun personally, but I could be in the minority there.
Some people just assume that like my gun is the best thing. Mm-hmm. Someone's gonna take it, so I'm not even gonna waste my money. You know, it's like okay. There are lots of people that are silly logic.
And a lot of times you get the gun back without just a few less attachments, and it's like that was worth it. You know what I mean? I paid 20,000 rubles to insure this gun. I get the gun, 3 attachments, and one of the mags back. Like that's worth way more than 20,000 rubles. Like
that's why you just get a fucking ADAR. And then put an M4 top on it and just put like a red dot and a silencer. You'll probably get the silencer taken from it, but you'll get the whole fucking gun back because
bro, you run 40 round mags and it takes it from a 5x2 to a 5x3, and a lot of people don't know that, so they'll put it in their backpack and they'll see it's huge and they'll just toss it because they're like, what? Why is that so big?
Usually you can only grab like 1 armor and like 1 rifle or maybe 2 or 3 rifles, but even then like the ghetto ass wooden thing that I might think is an ADAR, but even so, it's the ugliest M4, right?
Yep.
No one's gonna want to keep that, right? Everybody that has a decked out gun is gonna get their shit.
And there are definitely guns like MP7. That's probably the gun. If I'm not going to insure it, it's going to be that. That thing folds down to 3x1. It's like that's getting taken. You know what I mean?
Put that in your fucking pocket.
Yeah, it's. But yeah, so weapon malfunctions, they did a little tease on that on the Instagram, some more animations and stuff like that. They still don't talk too much about how that's going to work. We were talking about that in chat the other day. I really hope it's more care-based and not RNG-based. It'll just be frustrating to be in the middle of a fight and have your gun jam for no reason. But if it's because I didn't clean it, if it's because I purchased one that was a lower durability, I'm down with that. But you know what I mean? It's just like, of all the things that happen that are frustrating, to like finally be in like a clutch fight and you got the angle and you go and then you're dead, you're just gonna be like, it's just gonna be rage inducing. You know what I mean? So
it's just one more
I want it to be my fault.
It's one more things that takes control out of our hands. Which is another thing that like the story of my day today and my time in the last few months with Tarkov, it's basically like I can't aim because I'm getting aim punched. I can't see because my vision's blurring. I can't run because my stamina's drained.
Yeah.
So if for some reason I don't spot, like I'm playing Where's Waldo. It's a point and click Where's Waldo game. Whoever sees the person first, and who clicks faster, they win. It's not like you don't get a chance to like rebut it, you know.
But that's the thing. If they keep it in our control, I'm fine. If they say your gun won't jam at 100%, You know what I mean? And here's your cleaning kits that you can purchase from this level trader. I'm even down. Lennon put this. I'm totally down if when you double click on a 60 round mag, one of the stats is like 4% chance to jam. Like if it's provided to the player and then they are given choice, then you can like never jam your gun in combat if you're on top of it. And I'm totally okay with that because that makes like scav stuff even more immersive, or the 0 to hero raids, or maybe eventually open world where you go in with nothing and you stay in this thing, because then that's like immersive on like, oh, I found a gun but it's garbage, this thing might jam, or oh, I found, you know what I mean, I found a 16 round mag, so I'm gonna risk it because I found it in raid. But if you are going in, you know, kitted out, you have control over it as long as they allow us to have control over it. I see it as a positive for the game, but if they don't, then it's gonna be weird. And
yeah, I totally agree. They could also, there are also things that they could do that, if done well, would be really good. If done bad, would be really fucking bad. But the idea about like, let's say you have a 60 round drum and you're full auto spraying all 60 bullets, like,
yeah,
what you wouldn't want is like a flat 1% chance to jam, because then you shoot a 60 round mag and then another 60 round mag, you're pretty much statistically guaranteed to get a jam. You just shot 100 bullets, and if it's 1%, you will jam. So that means you're gonna, every single fight as like a coin flip, you know, because every fight is a mag, you know. So it would need to be like, imagine if they made it so that it starts off at a much smaller thing, but like almost to replicate temperature, you know, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, like
where the longer you're holding down mouse 1, your chances go up and up and up and up and up and up and up, which might get rid of the whole spamming full auto meta, you know, whatever. But that all depends what they want to do. But see, that's a really interesting thing. It's like, if you want to dissuade people from going full auto, then what you want to do is like have some sort of trade-off, some repercussions. You need to make it so that it's not just simply better than like, why would I not hold mouse 1 if there's no recoil? You know, and I have infinite ammo, then why would I not hold mouse 1?
And that's not an attack on people that game that way. That's just game design 101, right? Like games aren't fun when it's just you have this thing, then you get this thing. This thing is always better. Never use the other thing. Like I like to use 30 round mags because they look aesthetic on M4s. M4s look so much better with 30 round mags in them. And so I use them. And you know how many people are like, bro, why are you using a 30 round mag? And I get that question because there's literally I have 82 million rubles. The game provides zero reason for me not to. So it's not like we're trying to attack people that use high capacity mags. What we're just saying is like good game design is trade-off. It's decision. It's you put the power. I want the 60 round mag because I want more ammo capacity, but I know that the longer I hold mouse 1 down, I might get a jam. Or no, I don't even want that chance in combat. I'm just going to stick with the 30s. You can still do whatever you want. So yeah, the trade-off thing, I always feel like we should be deciding between trade-offs. We should always be deciding. And I've talked about that with recoil and ergo, and it's like, the HK is the no trade-off. High capacity mags, suppressed, zero recoil, best ammo in the game. No trade-offs. Zero. High ergo too. High ergo, low recoil. Like,
that's all I was running for the most of today. Was just I see a scav with their back turned to me. I am going to empty 40 rounds.
Yeah, me
because,
too.
You know, there's no reason for me not to just hold mouse 1 rather than aim and then click. I'm gonna click and then aim,
and then
because
it's so true.
It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. But back in the day, I had the most fun when I had a fucking 8R. This was before the TX was even added to the game. When I had an 8R with 20 round mags and like a 4X, and I could go tap, tap, tap.
Yes.
Like, if that was, I would love it if that was just as viable but in a different way. Maybe you can aim much quicker and it's much less likely to jam. Or actually, that just hit me that see, the thing is that guns at 100% shouldn't really, you know, unless there's like manufacturer defects, which I don't think should be RNG in the game. It is in real life. You can go buy an AR and have that shit jam. I've had a Glock stovepipe before, that was pretty new. And then you see people who've like buried it underground for fucking 100 years and it's never jammed ever.
Yeah.
Probably it was a combination of the magazine and or the ammo. So using cheap ammo and or if magazines have durability too.
Yeah.
So like if you have one of the old like metal ones, that should have a different jam chance than one of the like Magpul polymer ones, which should have a completely different jam chance than like I have a Ruger 1022 rifle, 22 rifle. That thing, I have the 30 round little banana mag for it. It comes with like a 10 round little tiny box thing.
Yeah.
When I put the 30 round mag in it, it's like I can go click, 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 boom, 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 click. And I just gotta wiggle the fucking magazine, because there's just like little plastic pieces holding them. It's just so janky.
Yep.
That it's usually the magazine that will cause like a failure to feed.
Yeah. It would be also interesting to see instead of like, because the durability is 0 to 100, right? So it's I could be wrong, but I feel like really complicated math is going to have to come into play on like, well, it's once it gets down to this durability, these values are changing, and this durability, these values are changing, and then you're repairing it. How much do you repair it, and all that stuff? I would be interested to see a more Daisy-like mechanic where guns are either like worn, lightly worn, or new. You know what I mean? Like, and then you can find you can find mags in the world that are just like worn and they have a higher % chance. You know what I mean? And you can repair them to the higher level or something like that. And I feel like that makes it less numbers gamey and complicated. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, all you need to do is you can have that be either like a veneer on top of a more complex system.
Yeah.
Or you can have that actually just like built into the system. Now building it into the system, I mean, this is what I talked about with ballistics, right? Like, why don't we just have one, 100 HP and bullets do like 17 damage, or if they penetrate it, like make it simple, because then players understand it, and but instead it's going to be a big question mark, and you're going to be at 93%, and people are going to be like, what's your chance? And I'm going to have to make a calculator in Battle Buddy to figure it out after we data mine the game. As opposed to just being like, if it's excellent, there's a 0% chance. If it's good, then there's a 0.001% chance. If it's ruined, then there's like a 5% chance or a 10% chance or something, right?
Exactly.
But they won't do it that way because they don't want anybody to know how the game is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Because then we'll know when the game doesn't work how it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And we can say that it's a bug. You can't objectively say something's a bug if they don't tell you how it's supposed to work.
If you don't know what it's supposed to do. It would also be interesting to see, and we're getting in the weeds here, but at this point I'm just theory crafting and I don't care. It'd be interesting to see guns being sold at like if there was a trader that sold lower durability guns for cheaper. You know what I mean? Like, you could do a few things with that. You could make you could do a few things with that where you could get like proper to sell 2 versions of the VSS. You know how when you're in his menu, you see the VSS 3 times, 2 are barters and 1 is for sale. What if there were 2 for sale? And one of them, the pristine one, you can only buy at level 40. Or they could even add a 5th level to the trader, make it at level 50, push more content into the game. You can't buy pristine guns until later, but you can buy cheaper worn ones. Or maybe it's a new dedicated trader that deals in something like that. Like, that would you could take that a few interesting ways to either help lower tier players try more guns because they're cheaper, or extend the cycle by pushing pristine guns farther down but allowing these guns to exist. I don't know how complicated that would get. From a theory craft perspective, I think that would be an interesting mechanic.
Yeah, just as long as, you have to keep in mind, like, if it costs 6,000 rubles to fully repair a gun that's at 10%, then it needs to be more than 6,000.
That's true. The repairability kind of changes that. Yeah. That makes more sense if you can't repair it.
It's something you have to keep in mind, but like, if it was either much, I don't even know. Like, I don't think you should be able to, and I think this is probably like something that they're going for. I know with armor, is that like you shouldn't really be able to repair armor. You should have to swap out the plates, right? Like, You shouldn't be able to repair a gun. You should buy a new charging handle and you buy a new, whatever. Like you buy new parts. That's what happens. You can clean your gun. I would say a gun cleaning kit, and maybe what that does is that's the equivalent of it brings it up like a little bit, just like how when you repair something, it brings the max durability down. But but like a gun cleaning kit you should be able to use like 10 cleaning kits on a gun, but then after that you're going to clean it, and it's just not going to get better unless you start taking off, replacing parts.
That would be interesting. That would be so interesting, because then that would because
there's no such thing as durability on a gun. Like are your parts on your gun, do they properly, are the tolerances correct, are they lubricated, you take care of your shit? There's no such thing as durability, like, because you're not using your gun like a fucking hammer.
And if a part breaks, you don't throw the gun away, you replace the part. You know what I mean? Like
you take the whole gun, and you wipe down the whole gun from tip to tip, and you've now fixed it.
That would be super interesting.
It's like your car has durability. When your car breaks down, it's like, got to take it in.
70% durability now.
Not just get a new fucking, carburetor.
That's interesting. Right to repair in Tarkov. That's interesting. The last thing that they talked about that is coming in 12.11 is an optics rework, which I found very interesting. He said they are reworking the reticles. Please just break it however you broke it that one time, because it was great. But then I didn't realize they were talking about this, but like making optics more consistent in the distance from your eye, and then normalizing things like eye relief, because people don't realize, I mean, some of it's kind of a meme, but it's still a bug. Like if you put like you get like a 153 and you put the rail on it and you put like a monstrum sight on it, like a 2X, like if you want to, go AP20 sniping, bro, you shoulder that thing and it's one square inch in the center of your screen, and 70% of that inch is eye relief. And you're like,
you might as well have taped on a bendy straw on top of your thing.
But what's crazy is you're shouldering the gun, like the distance from eye to, it's the same, right? You're just shouldering a shotgun. You didn't put it at the end of the shotgun. So there are definitely weird stuff like that. Now, some of it makes sense. An RFB, the Picatinny rails are much further up the gun. You can't put one further back. That makes sense to me, right? Yeah. But like, there's a lot of stuff where if you just put a weird optic on a gun, you just get some weird stuff. So he talks a lot about normalizing that, making eye relief not be so bad, and then reworking the reticles. So that could be cool. So here's the thing with 12.11, man. And this is where things started to just take a sadness, just Kazam Sag, was like, outside of the factory expansion, the two biggest things I was hoping would be in this patch would be the first pass on inertia and the Unity 2019 migration. Because originally Unity 2019 migration was pitched as a 12.10.x. And then it was like, well, that's probably not happening. Maybe it'll be 12.11. And now it's going to be 12.11.x. And it was just another one of those things where, like you were saying, more of the same. We're excited for a patch. At the end of the day, all we're going to be getting with that patch is, for the most part, stuff we always get. Maybe an expansion, more guns, generalized optimizations. And the Scav Karma thing is cool. That's a new mechanic. That's a new mechanic, and that could be really cool. But we
still have broken sound and broken movement and broken netcode.
And it's just like, and I was just really excited. I think the whole community is really excited for inertia. Now, once again, like, hear me, people listening to this podcast. Does what I'm saying mean I wish they would rush out a version of inertia that they have right now? Absolutely not. I am not a game designer. I don't know how much work it takes to implement these things. But what I can say is expectations were set, expectations weren't met, and that just makes me sad. It doesn't make me think that they're frauds or scam artists for not give me what I want in the patch. I understand, but it's just like, I was excited for this patch. This was going to be a patch that changed things. Inertia is going to change the way fighting happens in perpetuity. And if there was, just last night I was telling people, if they don't wipe with 12.11, I don't care. Give me stuff. Give me stuff to do. I don't care if I have 0 rubles or 80 million rubles. I want new stuff to do. I want to engage with the game, because we put so much weight on a wipe, dude. Like what happened 4.5 days into this wipe? There wasn't enough new stuff. It's already stale. Everybody already has level 60 traders. Why am I not? Why would not? And then now everybody's like, a wipe will save the game.
No, they say a wipe will save the game, or they say daily quests will save the game. And actually, I am of the opinion that like daily quests are effectively just, it's like a wipe. I'm going to have some random thing to do.
Yeah.
You could make a website that is just a randomizer that comes up with, go to X map with, like, that just generates a random challenge for you, right?
Yeah.
That isn't adding like replayability.
Yeah.
You're just adding filler.
Yeah.
Even if you make it so that it's a unique quest every other day and you get paid money, again, that's, people are begging for it, and it's going to be cool for a little bit. And then people are going to do it for a couple weeks, and they're going to say, the reward isn't good enough, or this 100%. Isn't good enough. Well, no, because the game needs to be the reward in and of itself. It's why RPG games, are above and beyond the quests. It's not about the quests. It's about, like, you can spend time looking at your character screen and figuring out how you want to do your build and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not content, right?
Yeah.
And none of that matters if when you can't shoot at somebody because their movement is erratic and the netcode is broken, or you can't hear them coming. Right?
Exactly.
What they're doing is they're sitting there painting on a canvas on a boat that is sinking, and there's one guy bailing out water. Yeah. And nobody's fixing the hole.
Yeah.
But there's a guy bailing out water, even though it's filling up, and someone else is doing a nice painting over here. But, nobody's fixing the fucking hole first.
Yeah. And so it's just like, I believe we'll get Inertia. I believe we'll get Unity 2019. So I don't want to sound like this Debbie Downer. I was just sad because like what we're left with is effectively more of the same with 12.11, which is, I'm kind of glad they're not wiping for that reason. You know what I mean? Because it wouldn't change anything. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. So because we've talked about how Nikita has reached out to you, and we have both done our own independent research, and Unity 2019 seems like we're not putting all our eggs in this basket, but it seems like it could potentially bring with it some network optimizations that could address the core issue of this problem. It's also going to bring some really cool things that address the other game in other areas, like the volumetric fog and interchange and potentially smoke grenades. Inertia is going to address mechanics in the game that people are like, those two things represented so much more than just, oh, well, we're getting the Scar H. We're getting a factory expansion. Oh, we're like, those two things represented so much more meaningful changes to the game, and they both got pushed back. And I respect BSG and I respect Nikita. I really do. But I just like, that was when it started taking a turn. I was like, I'm just sad, man. I just want that stuff. You know what I mean? So as of now, the timeline is 12.11 comes out. He said as soon as they can after Inertia goes to ETS. And then they're also going to put a build of the game that's Unity 2019 on ETS, which makes sense. Use those servers. That I love it. But it's like, so who knows? It could be 12.12. It could be 12.11.x. Like, it could be the point. Like, it just, that's where I just started to get sad, man. It's like, I don't want them to push out anything too early. I don't even know. I don't know if they should devote more manpower or less manpower. I don't know how to do it. But I just like, those expectations were kind of set. You know what I mean? Unity 2019 was supposed to come out before 12.11, and now it's going to come out after, not even with. Inertia they wanted to get in 12.11, so it's just, that's when it started hurting for me.
Yeah, a lot of the, like, part of me wants to say they should divert all resources to, the three important things. But the thing is that, like, more cooks in the kitchen isn't always a better thing.
Yeah.
Like, you want one or two
sure.
fucking experts working on something, not 100 idiots.
100%.
Because it's not a manpower thing. It's an expertise and architecture and engineering thing, which sometimes there should be one person working on it.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just there's one guy, because anybody else stepping on my toes, and they're going to put salt in, and then you're going to turn around and be like, all right, I got to put salt in, and now it's too much fucking salt, like,
yep. 100%.
you ruin the meal. So So you gotta. It's complicated. Like
exactly.
I said, my gut reaction wanted to be like, you can put all resources on this stuff, but then it's like, well, then you don't want 100 noobs all working on networking.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's empathetic frustration I have. Like my response isn't, like, well, let me tell you how to do it. Just put more people on inertia. Like, for all I know, it's going as fast as it freaking can. You know what I mean? They just need that dude who's nailing it to work on it a little bit more. Which is what, like, that's similarly, I always get super frustrated. I mean, I'm seeing people in chat type it over and over again, but it's a whole, like, just fix the servers. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just not that simple. You know what I mean? It's like,
sitting outside the room while your mother's getting heart surgery, and you're just being like, just fix her heart.
Just fix it. Just get more doctors in here, right? If we put 13 more doctors in here, the heart surgery gets done faster.
We need more scalpels. We need more scalpels in here.
Yeah. You want, how many hands do you want, like, reaching into your grandma's heart? You know, how many scalpels do you want coming in? You want the one dude who knows what he's doing, bro. And you want that dude to be in complete silence, focus mode. And it's like, I just hate it. I just hate the whole, like, just fix the servers. Oh, they want to put 40 people on freaking streets? There's no way. Have you seen these servers? And it's like, based on what I understand, it's like they probably fully have the capability to put 40 people on streets, and it wouldn't perform any worse or better, because the problem isn't like the server's capacity, it's the client side authoritative stuff, where it's like, I just...
It's like you've got one guy working on here's the 19th metaphor that we're using. One guy working on, like, the wiring and the electricity in the room, and then 40 guys painting the walls. You can have as many people painting the walls, and it's hard to fuck that up. And it's just copy, paste, rinse, and repeat. That just takes time and resources.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something that's critical, it's not about more manpower. It's not about just hiring more people. It's not about, it's trying to find somebody who can do the job the right way. And, they also have to want to, like, work for you and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's,
I think that's like the most, it's just, people just don't know what they're talking about. And I get it. I can empathize with the fact that networking is arguably the single biggest problem with the game. So I can understand how people are like, well, can you please fix that, devote more manpower to that? But we don't know, you know what I mean? It could be like, I even wrote these in my notes, because when you brought this up to Nikita, when you brought up the networking things, he said that in these 3 areas they're working. Now, who knows how much or whatever, but he was saying that, like, they are constantly rotating in and out servers, and some servers underperform for what they need and some are better, so they're doing that. They are addressing, he admitted to addressing errors in their own built network infrastructure. And he said that they have certain limitations by the engine, which is why they're excited to move to Unity 2019. So it's like, just
all the things I pointed out in my netcode video, by the way,
100%.
It took 6 months for anybody to acknowledge, because his initial response was, it's client issue, don't worry about it.
Yeah. So just fix the servers is such a brain dead thing, because it's like, well, then if you understand how to fix it, tell me which one of those things the problem lies in and how to fix it. You know what I mean? It's like, it just, it's so,
crowdsource it, dude.
It's so frustrating.
Just crowdsource. I mean, but see, that's the thing, is that I also, can hear the people groaning and saying that I'm a hypocrite because I'm complaining, but I'm complaining about something different. Mm-hmm. I want them to make sure that if Nikita says I have 100 people, if Nikita says I've got 2 engineers working on fixing the networking, it's a client side issue. I'm pissed because it's not a client side issue.
Yeah.
And it's not a server infrastructure issue. Everybody else is pissed that there's only 2 people working on the non-problem.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can be right for the wrong reasons. Like, we should all be like, upset or whatever, but you just need to be on the right fucking, like, universe.
You nailed it. You can be right for the wrong reasons. Like, at a 10,000 foot view, yes, you should and have the right to be upset that this game that you play and that you like has really bad networking problems, because you, as a consumer of this product, experience those problems frustrate you. You are right about that. But going into BSG's chat, going into my chat and saying, just fix the servers for God's sake. I don't need a Scar. I don't need Streets of Tarkov. Just fix the servers. That's when you've crossed the line to like brain deadsville, because you don't know how to fix it. You don't know what problem it affects. You don't know the specialty of the employee that you're, throwing around in your head in BSG servers. Like, stick with what you're right about and just present it and be like, man, this is frustrating. I hope that they're putting the right people in the right spot. You know what I mean? And if you feel like they aren't, go play a different game. But you're right about part of this argument, and you appear to be so wrong when you just come in someone's chat and just spam fix the servers when Nikita's trying to talk about like real things going on. It's like you give it up. You sacrifice the part of it you're holding on to that you are right about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it actively hurts the cause, because what happens is people bitch about the wrong thing about the right thing so hard and so long that eventually Nikita, like, every time I want to bring up networking, Nikita wants to roll his eyes, but that's only because a million fucking idiots all say fix the desync like entitled children.
And they don't want to have a conversation.
And exactly. And they don't say, it seems like there's, here's all the evidence and here's what I'm thinking, and maybe you should look at this and maybe you should look at that. And because he just basically is like, I've heard enough about desync. There's no desync. The servers are the best they've ever been.
Yeah.
And that's his way of like answering and coping with all of the non-criticism, so that whenever, people spamming, fix vertical audio. Vertical audio is fine if you have Steam audio on, and if you're not talking about their manual occlusion that they need to implement, but instead it's like, oh, Steam audio is the problem and you need to fix vertical audio and blah blah. It's like, and then I ask them about it. People are spamming fix the audio, and I'm like, let me translate from idiot into good question. Is it on your radar? Like, where is it in the timeline that you're going to implement the next part of Steam audio? Because I even caveated it with, this is why I get so fucking wordy, and people like, just get to the point, is because I'm trying to like,
I do the same thing.
So I not be misunderstood about in very specific ways. So when I'm like, vertical audio is fine and Steam audio is great, you should turn it on, by the way, when are you going to do the next part of Steam audio? So that's basically me saying, I'm glad you have Steam audio. I understand it's only part of it. When are you going to do the second part that will address the other things? And then, but now, do you remember what his answer was? Because I just remember I kind of like, my eyes glazed over, and I don't remember getting an answer.
It really wasn't. It wasn't crazy. It was just, so there is an audio in my last notes for one of the previous podcasts. He had talking about, it was when right before 12:10, they're like, we're bringing back Steam audio, and he caveated it because he knew people were going to get mad. He was like, this isn't a general overhaul of the audio. We're just turning this back on. Nothing has changed in it. We're just turning it back on. A bigger audio overhaul will happen later. And at that point, that was all the information we gave. I found my note here. You brought that up, and he kind of didn't address Steam audio, but he was saying that, like, yes, the audio overhaul, it will be happening, hopefully in a 12.11.x patch, but maybe 12.12. So I don't know if when he says audio overhaul, that's what he's talking about. It's like the next step of them ripping out their code and implementing. I would assume it would have to be, right? Because they started down the path of Steam audio, and it would make no sense to overhaul the competing system inside.
All the thing that is temporary until
as opposed to just. So that's what I'm hoping he meant by that, although he did not say the word Steam audio. As far as I remember.
Yeah. I'm not sure. He did mention 12.12 with VoIP. I didn't bring up VoIP.
Yeah, somebody brought up VoIP.
No, I think I, like, in some of my videos, and we've had talks about this before on the podcast and in some of my videos, that I think, like, I've made the most reasonable argument for why VoIP is good and why nobody should be upset by VoIP. But every time I bring it up, I just get completely shit on for the dumbest reason. So I just don't even bring it up anymore. Somebody else brought it up, and he said 12.12, which I was actually surprised about, although I'm extremely skeptical, because that's something that is a decent amount of work, and he hasn't said that they've done a whole lot with it. So it's like, are you planning on starting it once you're done with a 12.11 and then finishing it before 12? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of skeptical.
And I remember VoIP was on the preliminary patch notes for 0.12 with reserve. So.
And even if we get it, it might.
Who knows?
there's a chance it might still be that butchered, scuffed
Please
version
God, no.
where you need headphones.
Please God.
Which completely, again, would show the lack of understanding of what the need is and what it's intended to do.
Interchange lighting, a small update soon. He said he couldn't remember if it was in this patch or the next patch, making it a little bit brighter. I don't play interchange enough to really know how bad it is or how good it used to be or whatever, but I will default to the people like Sigma who main interchange who brought it up and then was like, okay, cool. So I was like, okay, cool. Some ballistic changes to materials such as doors and cars, like adding in engine blocks and stuff like that. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I was ever getting shot at through a car.
I have died through trees many times on woods.
Well, you think you die through trees. Who knows?
True. True. Let me rephrase. I'm pretty sure I've died through trees many times, but you're right. I don't know.
Yeah, today, the first death I had was dude up at the 3rd story of customs dorms. You know how there's a pillar right at the top of the stairs? Like in the middle of that kind of room where all the trash is and stuff. I was on the other side. He came out from the door and I lit him up with a bunch of bullets. And then I strafed perfectly behind the pillar and all the bullets were hitting the pillar. And my player RTT went up by 150. And then I died behind the fucking pillar. Now, that's just going to make it so that like, I wouldn't, if that's penetrable, I wouldn't have known that it was desync. I would have just assumed it got penetrated in the fucking thing, which is like, ugh.
I will say, though, that I have died, like, while healing behind a tree. And I've killed scavs through trees. Like, I do think trees are penetrable. Penable. Yeah. Well, we have to do testing.
So what they're doing is they're making things more penable.
Yeah.
It sounds like
car doors and stuff like that. But then engine blocks might be better cover.
Yeah, I've never been shot through an engine block and been like, thank God I'm in front of the engine block.
And it could be that this is way, like, they're looking down the road on, like, streets. We know that one of the scav bosses exists in a used car lot. So...
Which one?
One of the streets. There's going to be 2 scav bosses on streets. One's going to hole up in a used car lot.
Oh, God. I can't not picture Prep Whore.
Yeah.
He's the perfect used car lot.
Yes, 100%. So that could be stuff like that. Bro, okay. I cannot reconcile this. These words came out of Nikita's mouth in like one sentence almost.
Oh no.
Okay. Lighthouse, we want to come out. Lighthouse is currently being gray boxed.
I wrote that down.
We want it to come out during the summer. What? We've been waiting on Streets of Tarkov for 4 years, and you think you can go from gray boxing a map to delivering it to me in the summer? I was like, summer 2022? What?
No. So that was Lighthouse.
Yeah, Lighthouse.
And Lighthouse is coming before Streets. And Lighthouse, so gray box testing, software testing. It's a combination of white box and black box. The aim is testing is to search for the defects in any due to improper structure. So it sounds like that means that it's mostly done. They're just testing it.
I don't know. I please, software developers, tell me, because I thought that was like before the art team starts. We gray box where the buildings are going to be, where the hallways are going to be. This is the map. Yeah, Nice Guy says it's literally like step 2 of 20 for making maps. He's done game design a little bit in the past. I don't know. But like that was how I understood it. And I understand, chat, that Lighthouse is by a factor of like 7 smaller. But like, I mean, we've been hearing about the factory expansion for a year. And they said that they're gray boxing Lighthouse and that they want to get it done in the summer? I'm not saying it's impossible either. I'm just saying my brain can't rationalize that, given the development speed that we've been accustomed to.
That it could very well be a language thing.
Could have been. Very well, that's true.
Because when I hear gray box testing, I'm thinking of something extremely specific that is not what you're describing, because there's black box testing is it's the thing you're testing is a black box, which means you do not know how it works internally. So gray box testing means you like know how it works internally. It's to some extent.
Okay.
So it could very well be that he means it on like a software level and not necessarily like a game architecture.
Understood. That would make sense. Like it's done,
I don't know.
and they're in a certain stage of testing the map.
People saying with textures instead of detailed buildings or just boxes. I think you might be taking. You may, and I could be wrong, but you might be taking that definition too literally because
maybe
under the assumption that that's what he means. Yeah, what he said doesn't make any sense. Under the assumption of what I'm saying, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
and that basically means like they're in like the second to last final stage of testing it.
Yeah. And I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. And like, it feels more likely that there's a language barrier because like I fully acknowledge that like Nikita Buyanov is infinitely smarter than me when it comes to game design. He's been the lead developer of this game for 5 years. So I was like, it makes more sense that there was something lost in translation there because I just don't think that's possible, right? Like, if they've just started it and they wanted to get it out this summer before Streets, I just like.
Oh, I have no fucking idea. I
don't think it's possible.
I wouldn't think it would be possible either. But then again, I don't know how hard it is, assuming that you've got, like, there's nothing new. It's just a map and there's a designer that's designed the whole thing. And somebody just has to figure out where the polygons and the textures are and throw it in. And then it's just another, I don't know, like maybe it's possible, but I don't know. But again, I'm interpreting it totally differently. And you can, I mean, anybody that wants to know, you can just Google gray box testing, and the Wikipedia page I'm on, it has nothing to do with game development. It's a software thing. So
yeah.
So let me just read this real quick. A black box tester is unaware of the internal structure of the application being tested, while a white box tester has access to the internal structure of the application. A gray box tester partially knows the internal structure, which includes access to the documentation of internal data structures as well as the algorithms used. So it's the difference between, like, if they were to put it on the test server, we're black box testers, right?
Yeah.
When the developer who wrote the thing is doing preliminary testing, that very much can mean that, he's a white box tester. A gray box tester could be like the guy who's the graphics guy who didn't work on the feature is testing it. That's possible.
It really is. It either Nikita's crazy or that, you know what I mean? Like, that seems.
But he didn't say level design. He said testing. Gray box
I don't
testing,
remember.
not where gray box. No, I wrote it down in the episode doc. I wrote, where is it? Lighthouse being gray. They're gray box testing. Yeah, gray box testing.
Yeah.
Which seems to me like if they have a QA team, that's a gray box test.
Yeah.
Which means which would mean if it's anything like any of the software I've worked on, which again I'm not saying it is, but you put it before QA, right before you're about to release it, and if nothing goes wrong with QA, it's done. So which makes sense that it could be a month or two.
And that's the thing. It's like, we're not saying that gray boxing out level design doesn't mean what chat's saying it means. We're just saying that there are two different things. There's gray box testing, there's gray box blocking out levels, and we're just not sure. And it's very, like, knowing that those two things are both real factual states, it is very likely that a language thing happened, right? Like, because this is what we know. We know these two things are real. We know gray boxing out a level means you're just placing the box and you haven't done anything yet. We know gray box testing means you're doing something right before the end. And we know that this claim makes no sense when this definition is applied to it, and this claim makes more sense when that. So when there's a language barrier, it could potentially mean that he just slipped up, or you know what I mean, or whatever. So that helps me because I did not Google that. I'm done no software design. I was like, what?
I'm just gonna send a message. I mean, I'm sure he's sleeping, but I'm gonna just send a message to him right now and just be like, when you said gray boxing, what did you mean?
Yeah. Is it even possible we get Lighthouse in the summer? But yeah, so that was pretty cool. Brand new maps are dope. So I'm excited for Lighthouse. Lighthouse was in Hired Ops, so we got a little bit of like a look at it, because like the woods in Hired Ops was exactly the same as the woods in Tarkov. So it just makes me wonder like how much we're getting that's similar. It was a smaller part of it, but Lighthouse is cool. They've talked about a Scav boss that's going to be on Lighthouse. Like they've talked about him in the past. So it's cool stuff. So hopefully. Customizable rigs might not make it into 0.13. Sad face.
Yeah, it sounded like I feel like that's getting punted a lot further than I thought. Like he basically was like, it's a lot of work. And
yeah.
So which makes me think it's like 12, 13 or later.
Yeah. New hitboxes, he said, is the first step towards that, is like the advanced hitboxes where, you know, I'm assuming that's like you can hit me in the hand or the upper arm or the arm, and then they're not going to have dedicated health pools, but the hitboxes on like maybe a Gen 4 assault will no longer, if you get hit in the hand, it will do flesh damage. If you get hit in the shoulder, it will do the damage to the armor. Because he said that will come far before the customizable rigs, because that's the first step in that process. So we'll get that earlier, which will be interesting. The customizable rigs is just going to be such a cool feature, you know, long-term fun feature to mess around with gear. But it sounds like that's just being split into, we'll do the advanced hitboxes first, and then we'll do the customizable rigs later. And if he's pushing it out of 0.13, then that's like, damn, that's going to be a while, because we're not even at 12.11. He's talking about 12.12. You know what I mean? We don't know if there's going to be a 12.13 or it's going to go to 0.13. And if he's pushing it out of 0.13, then it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the broken record, dead horse. But like, you want to look at implementing things in an order of dependencies that makes sense. And if you want to properly test something like hitboxes or ballistics or whatever, then you need to make sure that like the netcode and the movement are like, because otherwise what you're testing is a lens. It's almost like focusing your lens through another lens. It's going to be focused, but then as soon as you change the lens, the whole thing is fucked, right? So it's like,
yeah. That's a good analogy. Yeah,
everything they want to do relies on the core fundamental mechanics of players moving, and what I see should be what I see and what I predict should be what I get.
Yeah,
which is movement, the inertia, and netcode and sound.
Yeah,
those three things are literally the most important things. And then from there, if those are good, then by all means, go ahead and do whatever you want, because as long as those foundations are good and they're not going to change, then you don't have to worry about regressing on any future features, you know? But if they go ahead and they do an overhaul with the audio and then later swap it out for Steam audio, then all the work they just did, it could break it, or it could have been pointless or redundant or whatever. So it's like, yeah. But hey, they hired a bajillion more people, so now they have that bit of being, well, even if you have more resources, all you have is a bunch of people that are all moving forward. You know, imagine you're building a house and there's one guy working on the foundation and one guy working on doing the actual like internal structure, right? And then you have like a bunch of people you just hired to paint, but there's no walls.
Yes. And that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering what those 30% more people than the start of this year. And we know they hired a lot in 2020 as well. So that's what I'm wondering. We knew they hired a lot of level designers last year when they really started to double down on streets.
And that makes sense.
And that's what I'm wondering. Like, we don't know what those 30% people are. They could be people that have a ton of experience in Steam audio. You know what I mean? Like, dude, what was it? Some dude came from like Blizzard or something.
You're like the third person to mention that, and I have no idea what.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember who it was. It was like a dude came from a big other company to work at Battlestate Games, but not. It was a community person. It wasn't like active development or anything. But that just set a precedent for me that they are hiring people in specialties, right? Like they're like, we can't be the community guys anymore. And they're a big enough game to attract attention now. So that seems to me like a good place to be. So maybe they put out the little 411 on like, we need some mother flipping Steam audio dudes out here. And maybe 10 of that 30% or 10 guys of however many people they hired have worked in Steam audio a ton. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know. I don't want to project and then get expectations based on it, but they hired a lot of people and we don't know how it was. And I hope that they're hiring, more of the right people for the right job type deal.
Yeah, people are saying it's a community guy from Blizzard. So then he's the one who should be on the podcasts.
100%.
But only if he is on the same page as Nikita and the developers.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want is like the fucking No Man's Sky, whatever, where you have like, somebody who's, well, that's actually a terrible example because No Man's Sky is basically exactly what Nikita did, which is he's like the lead developer guy in charge of everything, also doing the PR. But yeah, that's actually a terrible metaphor. Forget I mentioned No Man's Sky. You don't want somebody like contradicting what. I mean, we've heard Nikita answer these questions 8 million times, and anytime he flip-flops or changes, it's always like a big deal. So what would be terrible is if someone came in and started saying the opposite of what Nikita's been saying for so long. Even if it was what we wanted to hear, I would be like, red flags,
Yep. There would need to be like a both period. There would need to be a period where they would both appear on a podcast. Like he should start appearing in the Tarkov TV live ones, and we should get them, we would see them both together. We see this guy interacting with the community with Nikita, and Nikita not like interrupting him or like correcting him, and it would build this rapport. And then, you know what I mean? If that was then, that baton was then handed to this guy, it would be a different story. You know what I mean? We would build that trust. But yeah, if he just showed up one day and was like, yeah, dude, the client side network, we're fixing it. It would be like, I don't believe you, bro.
Dude, that's just reminded me of, what was that dude's name? I don't want to get into politics here, but one of the guys in the White House, who was like, he was like, oh no, now I got to know. Someone's gonna know this fucking dude's name. I hate this guy's face. But he was just like one of the spokespeople for Spencer. Not Spicer. Spencer. What the fuck's his name? Was it Spicer?
Sean
Spicer. Yeah, it was. What I don't want is it to be a fucking one of those guys. Oh my god. Holy shit. Yeah, if you don't know who I'm talking about, then
I don't.
The joke is kind of lost, but but yeah, I'm picturing this guy as like the next fucking Sean Spicer. He was one of those dudes that like he just spent all of his time like groveling and like rationalizing all of the dumb shit that Trump did, basically saying like, oh no, here's why it was good, and defending him, and then he did so bad at it that he ended up getting fired. So it was just like,
yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah. Oh god. Oh no, wait. He resigned. He resigned.
Sure. He's at Arena, not this year. No surprise. This was interesting. Pest talked a lot about like community events and stuff like that. So like little stuff to do. It's one of those things where it's like that kind of stuff. I actually think is a good idea, almost like doubling down on the whole like Band-Aid aspect, where it's like this requires very little to no dev time, but it's just like a fun thing. Like a free labs weekend, I would just play labs that weekend. I have 80 million rubles, I got rubles to spare. I would just play labs that weekend. Like that would be fun. You know what I mean? Like,
and we'd learn a little bit about like how the economy reacts to certain things without needing to fundamentally change the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that, it takes somebody, I feel like that would take somebody 10 minutes. You know what I mean? To do. Just to be like, oh, don't need a labs key card anymore. And I was like, man. And then I started thinking about stuff like, yeah, why don't they do more stuff like that? Like, I don't play interchange. Like, it probably represents 1% of the raids I play. If they were like, hey, we just for fun, Killa has a 100% spawn rate, I would go interchange all the time because I know enough people would go that I know interchange would become factory and it would just be like the Thunderdome. It'd be quick, fun fights and interchange. I'd go nighttime interchange because I never go night, but this would almost be like a guarantee to get PvP at night in interchange. Like,
it's why companies do sales on things that don't sell as often. It's like today's a sale on the fucking Ford Focus or whatever, like this weekend, because it's like they got to get rid of them. If you want to move people around, do these simple bullshit things that are easy to do.
And I was like, and that's one of those things where it's like you're doubling down on the fact that it's just like a Band-Aid, but it's okay because we're not talking about it in the sense of like we're spending 2,000 man hours overhauling the audio system that will end up being replaced by Steam Audio. That's stupid because that's a colossal waste of time. Being like, yo, Johnny, make Reshala 100% spawn rate for the next 7 days. We'll tweet out about it and everyone will be on customs. Okay, done. And then it's like, you know what I mean? It would just like, we could do that with all the maps with the Scav bosses. We could do labs free weekends. Like
that right there is far more effective than daily quests and wipes.
Yeah, yes. So Pestley brought that up and I was like, damn, that's a great idea. I don't know why they don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I don't know. That's really my whole spiel there. But I just like, I thought it was a great idea. I thought Pestley brought that up, stuff like that. It's simple. And it would get me excited. I would be excited to hop on and stream and like just run interchange. And that takes a lot for me to say. Because I just know it would be just a little Thunderdome. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be the interchange of like just getting, hatcheted by the guy laying prone waiting for me to unlock, Ultramed. It would be Chads all running to the middle of the mall trying to kill Killa. And it would be fun. Like,
yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things like every single thing that they introduce right now while the game is in this kind of temporary state, right? Like, I don't know what the fuck it's going to be, when it's quote unquote done in the future, whatever. But like, imagine if it's open world, all these crazy different systems and all these other things, then that means literally like none of the things we've tested over the last couple of years, like end up, not none of them, but most of them don't matter.
Yeah.
Like we did all this time testing out when they fixing like some ballistics thing, when it's like, but ballistics is going to be completely rewritten, or like they're going to completely redo the way that armor works or whatever. Yes. It's like, well, then don't just say it's not done yet and, don't bother testing it until everything that it relies on is done, right? Like,
yeah.
So this horse is so fucking dead.
Huh?
This horse is so dead. I've just been kicking this poor dead horse.
I mean, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
But that's what you get. You want us to talk about Tarkov? We'll talk about Tarkov.
Yeah, seriously.
And we'll be fucking happy about it.
Podcast people, this is what you get when we talk about Tarkov. Just a few more things. When bringing up Streets, and when he actually talked about it, he really sounded like Streets was almost done. Like like he was talking about the fact that they're like going to like a optimization pass, getting it.
Has it been gray boxed yet?
No, yeah, I don't know.
It's almost done, but hasn't been gray boxed yet. They'd be like,
I have not.
What do you mean by that?
He really he didn't say it was almost done. It just man, what he was saying. Wait, did he respond?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just checking.
Yeah. What it sounded like he was saying Streets, like the map is getting towards the optimization pass. He's still doubled down on, he's like, we still want 40 to 60 players, including scavs. And I was like, well, sure. Yeah. This will come out in 2027. Yeah, no, absolutely. But then this was as far as I know, this was the first time we've heard about this, but like he was like, we are releasing Streets this year. It's just how much, you know what I mean? He's like, we're not pushing it back anymore. They're dividing it up. And I thought,
which makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And that precedent has been set with literally every other map. Like, you know what I mean? Like people might think that this factory expansion was like the new hit thing they decided to do 6 months ago. Like they've had this factory that we're about to see on a whiteboard somewhere since 2016. Like they've known what they wanted to do with customs. They just didn't have the devs, so they did a slice. You know what I mean? Like this precedent has been set with all the other maps. But it really, all this time, it really felt like Nikita really wanted to drop the big streets bomb and do the whole thing. You know what I mean? And it feels, this is completely me guessing, but it feels like he's reluctantly agreeing to partitioning it and separating it out because he,
I think he feels like that's like a failure in some way. Like it's they're settling.
Yes. But it's the best way to settle, right? He's not settling on the quality. He's just settling on how much goes out first so that they can retain the quality. So
would you rather release an entire shit broken, terrible performing map or a really small, terrible, shit performing map? Then you could then optimize and fix and then apply the rest of those changes to the map before you introduce it, so that when you introduce the rest of it, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And then that definitely, like, because I was totally team, there is 0% chance we get streets this year. And now it really seems like to him and to the team, that's a non-negotiable. It's just how much. Can we get out this base amount plus this section and this section? If so, cool, ship it. If not, this is going out Christmas Day. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever. Like, so that kind of flipped it for me where I'm like, I really think we'll see some part of streets this year. It just seems like he's done. He's done with it. It's happening. It's just how much, you know what I mean? So,
and what I hope they don't do is introduce part of the map and then respond to a bunch of feedback like the spawns are bad or the exfils are bad, and worry about making it make sense in that context. But then it's
correct.
It's kind of similar to factory spawns. They've been fucked for so long. They could have spent time like fixing them. And there's ways they could have fixed it. But at the same time, it's like, if you're going to expand factory, then you can kind of just fucking wait. You know, it's not to say they shouldn't have done it, but it's like, figure out, we just need to make sure that they don't fall into the addressing issues that are pointless issues, you know?
Yeah, we don't want that part of streets for 2 years, right? Like in order to really service streets, they need to expand it every few months and just like optimize it, apply those optimizations, give us a little bit more. Exactly. Because if we all get too in the weeds on like, oh, well, this is a choke point. And it's like, well, yeah, but this entire section above here is going to open up. It's like, just deal with the choke point for a little bit. But if we
make it so there's 3 people instead of 6 people, and then at least everybody's still testing the map, and it'll be more of a sort of a micro representation of what a raid could be. And then when you introduce a larger area, introduce more people, and then whatever the issues are with the spawns and everything, keep that in mind when you're looking at the next expansion, not looking at like through a fucking pinhole lens, right?
Yep. So that was just interesting little street snippet. They're working on an additional trailer that should be coming out, soon-ish. That's cool. There was a little bit of talk about like somebody, like Ghost kind of positioned the question weird, but I was excited to hear Nikita talk about it, where he was like, Ghost was like, what do you think about rats and chads? And I think the sentiment of what Ghost was trying to say is like, how do you feel about the way people play Tarkov right now? You know what I mean? And what we're all concerned with. And it was just interesting to hear him talk about it, where he was like, the way he said it, he was like, modern warfare and modern combat is more of a game of chance than skill. You know what I mean? You can have been trained with the best people. You can have all the best gear, and you can not know
a fucking
landmine and just be dead. You know what I mean? And so he's kind of doubling down on that sentiment, where it's like skill will always play a part in shooter video games, but this is not the competitive CS. This is not the game where hours spent in the game. This isn't chess, right? Where like if you're better than me at chess, you'll beat me 99,000 out of 100,000. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, he wants it to be like that. He wants it to be brutal. He kind of doubled down on the whole, when you guys were talking about extract campers, on the whole, like, you never know if you're going to run up against a 5-man or a 2-man or one person. And it was just good for me to hear him say that stuff, because that's the Tarkov I bought into 2.5 years ago. You know what I mean?
When I did the video, Tarkov is not meant to be fun. I mean, if you look at that game that I explained there, then it makes sense that he's like, I don't care that grenade launchers suck. And it's like, you know what? At least you're consistent. I can disagree, but at least it's consistent, you know? But when they spend all these time on like, oh, we need to balance, let's spend all this time balancing ballistics and doing all these things when the ballistic system isn't done, the armor system isn't done, And you want it to be super complex and super critical, but then also you want it to be a game of chance and have it be less skill based. Like at that point, it might as well be like a Telltale game.
Yeah.
Press A before the timer runs out.
Yep.
You know, and then there's a roll of a dice to figure out if you succeeded or not. You know, like why make everything so fucking? Why try to make everything so precise and so controllable and so realistic and so all these other things when it's like it's all essentially for nothing?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when like giving you control, quote unquote, is all for nothing. It's like putting a Ferrari on rails, you know, and then being like, oh, well, how fast did you go around the track? Well, the same fucking speed everybody does because it's on rails. It's
on rails. Yeah. I really wanted somebody to, you alluded to it, Ghost alluded to it. I wanted somebody to just straight put them on the spot and be like, Nikita, can we please get rid of the 2 to 3 meter grenades? Like, can you just delete those, please, for the love of God? You know what I mean? Because I agreed with you when you, like, somebody brought up the GL. Somebody brought, Pesley. He was like, he came out swinging hard stance. I think it should be taken away from the game. And then Nikita was like, make the poll. And then, of course, everyone said it should be taken out of the game. And then you swooped in with the, like, what if 97% of the problem is just getting shot to the chest with a grenade 6 feet from somebody? What if we took that grenade out of the game?
For me, what I was alluding to is like, let's say you are in a hallway and they're in a hallway. What it means is that if you jiggle peek, they don't have to do the only hard part that makes one person better than the other is that I can move my mouse while I'm moving and you're moving and click on your head. Instead, I just need to click in that hemisphere. And it's going to hit one of the walls because you're in a fucking funnel.
Yeah.
No matter where I hit, you die because of the explosion instantly. It's not like I hear a clink, clink, clink and I get to run away. I peek and I'm dead. And you don't have to be skillful. So, like, but if you do that across customs, like if you're at construction and I'm on like the 3rd story of dorms on the scaffolding outside and you can bounce a fucking rocket, like a grenade off of the side of the brick, I'm 100%. Okay with that.
100%. Or imagine being in Skeleton and seeing a team at Fortress. You know what I mean? And you're like, and you whip it out and you go, thunk, whoosh. And if you nail that thing and you see 3 bodies drop, oh my God, that's so much more rewarding than running around labs with the 2 meter charge time grenades, which is all it boils down to. You know what I mean? Which is
why I mentioned I kind of came in with you have what people want, you have the problem, and you have what Nikita wants. And in order to win, in order to get what you want, it's this way in sales, it's this way in engineering, it's this way in relationships. You need to figure out what you can ask for, like what's my threshold, and like try to get there, not get too greedy, right? If you're buying a car, you want to get the cheapest price, but if you lowball them, they'll say no, fuck off, and then the deal's dead.
Yep.
Whereas if you come in a little bit higher than you wanted to pay, but it's a reasonable offer, then they might just take it, right? So that was like my counter offer was, Nikita seems like he's not going to remove the fucking, like he asked for the poll. He's not going to remove the grenade launcher.
No, he's not going to remove it.
Even after it was overwhelmingly like remove it, he still was like, oh, maybe I'll like nerf it or something. But instead what's going to happen is it's going to make it so that it's
more expensive.
It's more expensive, which means it's not rarer.
No,
it's used by the same people in the same scenario. So what I want is to make it so that you need to be better. Because in my opinion, it's too easy to use it.
Yep.
There needs to be like some sort of trade-off where it's like, it's devastating, but you have to be you have to like look at the tick marks and fucking test the wind and like set up your mortar and it has to just land perfect, like. Because
think about if they introduce like, this is a great example. Think about if they introduced in the game right now a grenade that was impact driven. You could throw it and the minute it touched, it blew up. It would demolish this game. It would be so stupid, but nobody's advocating for getting rid of grenades, because when you do that like quick peek thunk and it rolls in the room that you knew the dude was in and it blew up and you hear him die, you're like, that was sick. I nailed that shot. Or you know what I mean? Or when you biff it and it comes back at you, you're like, oh no, and you run away. There's like skill, it's fun, it's an engaging game loop. But that's what the GL is. It's just a thunk, boom, you're dead. Thunk, boom, you're dead. And I really think...
And that's okay in COD when you're going to respawn in 2 seconds and you get a chance to shoot them again.
I think the community would be so much more accepting of the GL if it's like the 2 to 3 meter one was gone, the 15 to 20 meter one was hella rare, and like the 30 to 45 meter ones were the ones people were using. Oh my God. I'd buy 40 of them and I would start playing all the time. It would just be like, because then it would be able to come down in price a little bit. Not too much. Obviously, you don't want everybody to have one at every raid.
You'd see it more and you wouldn't insta-die to it every time.
Exactly. When I hear a grenade launcher, it's like, well, run. I got into a fight with somebody yesterday with a GL in the 3rd floor of dorms. He had nothing on him except the loot he found in marked room, the grenade launcher, and 14 grenades. I killed him. And he had like 14 grenades in his pouch.
Which means he had 12 in his gamma.
Yeah, and the only thing he had was his marked room loot. And I was like, this is where I'm fighting this person. A grenade launcher, I'm fighting this dude down a tight hallway in a dorm. Not out on woods, you know what I mean? Or not out behind on the hill where he can lob it over and like, yeah, so I really wanted somebody to just like put him on the spot and be like, Nikita, like, what do you think the negative is of getting rid of that grenade alone and then just seeing what happens to the GL? Because from his perspective, yeah, 0% chance he gets rid of it. He spent his hard-earned money paying the people to freaking code it and put it in the game, and he's known he wanted it in the game.
He's got to double down, even if it's the right thing to do at that point. I wouldn't fucking...
No, I wouldn't get rid of it either, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like the version of reality you pitched to him is more people take advantage of that work that was done.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Somebody put their blood, sweat, and tears into modeling it, animating it, and putting that stuff in the game. Nobody likes it. Everybody thinks it's a meme, and nobody uses it except for the 4 people that run around and meme on labs. And it's like, what we're trying to do, Nikita, is actually like help this work that you did pay off and be a valuable addition to the game. So I was just really interested that his...
No, and he said, I'm going to have to nerf it, which basically means that it's going to be... It's probably like, even if you made it so that it was half the radius and it did half the damage, it'd still probably be enough to kill me in the hallway when I jiggle peek you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't solve the problem. Or if he makes it more expensive, it just means the millionaires are they're gonna use it the same exact, unless you make it like 2 orders of magnitude more expensive. It's a 10 million, like the T7, so that nobody uses it, right? Like, you haven't made it more balanced or better or more fun to use. You just have priced enough people out of the market that they won't have it, right?
Yeah.
But that's, again, comes down to fucking understand the problem, and be smart about fixing the problem. The problem is not that there are too many or that it's too cheap or that whatever. The problem is that even if it happens to me once a month, I still fucking hate it.
Yeah. Because
it's gameplay wise, it's functionally like completely no different than if you could imagine if you had a M61 that was a homing bullet.
Mm-hmm.
It would go around corners.
Yeah.
Like it would functionally be pretty much the same where you could curve it around slight bends. It would just mean that they don't have to aim at you.
Yeah.
They just have to aim near you and they win.
Yep.
At least with a grenade, you have to aim near them, but then also they have to not be able to get away from it in time, which means you can kind of aim it where they might be, or get them in a position where they can't go anywhere, like they're stuck in a room or whatever. There's other ways around that, right? But with a GL, there's literally no way to counter it.
Yep.
And it doesn't take any skill.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like grenades are devastating, but like one of my least favorite quests to do in the game is Grenadier, where you have to kill 12 PMCs. I'm always like, I'll do it naturally. I throw 300 grenades, I get 1 kill, and then it's my only quest left locking me behind those quests for Kappa. So I go to Factory with a KS-23 and star rounds and VOG people. It's like grenades, exactly. Grenades take infinitely more skill and can be used as a tool and not just a lethal instrument, right? You can push them out of a room. You're going to throw this F1. You know they can run out of that room in time to run away from it, but now you know they have to run out of the room and you can shoot them. But the GL, exactly, it's not a tool. The way it's used with those 2 to 3 meter, it's not a tool. It doesn't require skill. There is no counter. It's just click death. You know what I mean? And that's not saying that there's no way to counter it. I killed somebody with one yesterday. You know what I mean? But it's just... Yeah, exactly. The way it's being used, and what blows my mind is that such little would have to be done to make it used, in my mind, infinitely more like it was intended to be used. So little would have to be done on the dev side to make that, and I don't know. Once again, though, I was just frustrated because I was like, we need to steer the conversation away from get rid of it because he's not going to do that. And we need to steer it towards just blunt force, just like straight to his face. Hey, here's the idea. Everybody else shut up. Nikita, what do you think? Do you think there's a negative to this? What if we did this? You know what I mean? But
here's the thing. You do not want to be the guy.
I know.
Been me. It's almost always me who says, here's a very straightforward, extremely black and white, obvious thing. Answer the question. And then someone comes in because he doesn't want to answer it or whatever, and then someone else comes to like his rescue or whatever. It never gets answered. I love Nikita and I respect him. I just like I've just given up on that because I don't want him to hate me any more than he may or may not already hate me. But like it just leads to more fucking harassment and bullshit, and it almost never actually ends up getting the answer you want.
Yeah.
So
I get it. The only other thing is he insinuated that they were getting a little buddy with NVIDIA. He said they're working on DLSS, and he even mentioned some other things, optimizations for like 30 series cards and stuff like that, which I thought was cool. Once again, I feel like the benefits of blowing up, like the game blowing up on Twitch and stuff like that, is like they now like, I bet NVIDIA is like working directly with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Unity wants to work with them. NVIDIA is going to work with them. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Which is cool. Oh, bro, it was so interesting. He was basically insinuating that like Hollywood reached out to him about like a full multi-season series based on Tarkov.
Dude, I'm telling you, it should be.
Hell yeah.
You know what I wanted to say the whole time?
Yeah.
I wanted to say abso-fucking-lutely, just as long as whoever you hired for the fucking acting and voices for the last episode.
Yeah.
I was thinking about all these different ways I could make the joke, and I was like, I could make it like so you could it would be great on HBO, but your fucking finale would be just as bad as Game of Thrones. And then I almost made like a Lost reference. It was going through all in my head. Lost having the fucking Game of Thrones. I'm like, I'm just gonna I don't want to shit on, because I loved the Raid series, but the last episode was fucking laughably bad. But only because of like the weird English voiceover and the corny ass like acting, but everything else, the fucking special effects were dope, the cinematography was dope. But yeah, it just made me like, I would have been the one guy laughing out loud in the theaters, like, you see this shit?
Yeah, it's like I want him to be creative director, you know what I mean, like producer, where he like nothing can happen without his say so, but we need Hollywood to do what Hollywood does. They write it, they
my God, imagine George Lucas. I may have gone too far with this one.
That would be, dude. That'd be sick. That'd be sick.
Thanks.
But yeah, that was
you know what? You know what I want to fucking say? Because I think we're probably getting pretty close to wrapping up. So this was like back to OG podcast, but I have an idea for some viewer community interaction that kind of also leans in a little bit to what I've personally you'll have to tell me if you've been getting the same, but there's been just a lot of people that have been saying that they like loved the guests and some of the different topics we've been talking about, and it's been a lot louder and a lot more positive than the people who are like, I'm here for the Tarkov, blah blah blah. So part of like what I think we have been like leaning into a little bit with the podcast that we've been like finding our identity is talking about the poggers things in life, like the things that either excite us or inspire us or whatever. And then you got me into Dark, you got me into DJ Peach Cobbler. I was thinking that we could do something, and I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff out there and we can see what sticks. Maybe we can hear from the community. Maybe this is kind of meta, but maybe the thing that I want to get from the community can be first implementation of the thing I want from the community, but the community feedback. So our podcast supplier, whatever provider, has the ability that you can go and record messages to us. So what we could do, it's almost like a voicemail box. What we could do is So part of what I was thinking is sharing the things that excite us, almost like, you know how there's a book club and someone says, we're going to read 1984 this week and read it this week and then come back. It could be that maybe you or I recommend, oh, you should check out Internet Historian if you haven't heard about it, or you should watch this movie or whatever. And it's almost a little bit like homework, but there shouldn't be any pressure. It should just be like, what do you think about it? And talk a little bit about it, because I'm always like looking for new shows to watch, always looking for new YouTube shit to look at. I'm just always looking for something to enjoy and to be entertained and be inspired. So if we can talk about some of those things and recommend to each other, but then also if the community goes and watches, let's say DJ Peach Cobbler, they can come and say, hey, I watched DJ Peach Cobbler and I really liked it and blah, blah, blah. And I watched these 2 videos and it's really great and whatever. And I can literally play the audio on the podcast and it can just be like, we can see what the community's response is to some of the ideas and of content, that we've talked about. And I don't know, I just think it would be a fun like segment, even if it was like, okay, we're going to do, some fucking, what's the poggers things? The poggers things of the pogger things of the week or whatever.
Yeah. I think that would be dope, because I think that there are a lot of people that are interested in a lot of stuff that we're like similar to we're interested in. And it could be like us experiencing something new. Like I'm so down for that. I'm so down for that. Because we're both the same way. We both like to like hear about a new thing and then like dive into it and then dissect it and talk about it. So like this could be like our community helping guide us to some things that maybe we didn't know, right? I didn't know Every Frame of Painting existed. And then I went through and binged all that stuff. You know what I mean? And that would have been like, that's a great example of, a guy's like, yo, you guys like this stuff. Check out this YouTube video or this YouTube channel. We both watch a bunch of those videos on the week. And then we spend 10, 20 minutes talking about it on the show.
Dude, we should maybe start it off next week with either Every Frame of Painting if you want to talk about that, because I want to go back and watch all those videos again.
So
I go through periods where I watch them because it helps me with my videos, it helps me with my music, it helps me with everything. So I can go back and watch it again. Or are you familiar with Internet Historian?
Yeah, yes.
Because I knew of him and I saw a couple of his videos, but now I'm actually like looking at binging people who do longer form stuff.
Yeah.
And he came across my radar. I watched like Summit respond react to some Internet Historian video. Never paid attention to it, but I've since now watched all of his fucking videos and on his first channel and his second channel.
His second channel, yep. He's so good.
Yeah. Did you see the one with Balloon Boy?
No.
Bro.
Okay. Was that on his second channel or his main? I don't remember.
Both.
Oh, what?
So this is your homework for next week.
Okay.
Watch the video where he talks about Balloon Boy.
Okay.
And then on his second channel, he does a Q&A. And then later, the guy who he's talking about reaches out to him. And it's like a 30-minute follow-up where it was like, to me, basically it went from this fucked up weird hoax thing that made this guy look like an idiot to then afterwards, I am now 99.9999999% certain that this dude was completely fucking set up by the cops and it wasn't a hoax. It was just this big bullshit thing from the media and police. And you don't remember back in the day? I don't remember if it was in the late 90s or the early thousands.
I remember
there was the Balloon Boy, where he was like hiding in the garage or whatever.
Yes, I do remember that. I haven't seen Internet Historian's video on it.
But what's your take on it? Do you because I always thought it was a hoax and the kid was hiding in the garage and it was a part of the family just wanted to make a big deal out of it.
For sure.
Nothing like that. Absolutely not.
See, and I have no idea. Yeah.
No, it's complete bullshit. It was a fucking dude. Everything you know about it is wrong.
I love that stuff.
And everybody, there's your homework. Go watch it and fucking go to our
Anchor.
Yeah, let me look up the URL real quick. Go to our podcast webpage that we have from Anchor, and I'll tell you what that URL is in just a second while I pull it up. And you can go and leave voice messages, and if they are insightful or entertaining or funny enough, and they're relevant to Balloon Boy, we'll fucking play them.
We'll play it
on, and I can't promise we'll play them because we might get 8 billion of them, and if they're like too edgy or whatever, but by all means, it would be so fucking rad
to
incorporate it. It is anchor.fm/JesseKazam. Anchor.fm/Pogcast live.
Anchor.
And I believe on that page you can go. Maybe not that page. Let me double check.
Can I post links in your chat? Yes, I
can. There you go. Can you guys? Is that where you go and post? Someone just double check that you can go. I'm like logged in, so it's giving me like the non.
Yeah, message.
Pleb.
I see the message thing. I'm not logged in.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So
yeah,
go and watch. And let us know what you think. If you fucking hated it and you think it was bullshit, or you think maybe he's wrong, I would love to fucking hear it. I want to see what you think about it, Jesse, because it totally.
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. His videos on Shia LaBeouf during the.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my god.
Which ones have I? What?
It's like a 7-part series on Shia LaBeouf around when like Trump was getting elected, and the whole. I forget it, dude. It.
The internet historian?
I'm almost positive. Was that not him? I'm almost positive he did that.
I've gone through most of his recent videos. This the No Man's Sky. He talked about have you seen the Cost of Concordia 2 months ago? The boat.
Yes, I
that
did.
One was
oh yeah,
too.
Yeah. He will not divide us. Oh wait, no. Was that not historian? Yeah, what? Yeah, it is. The triggering of Shia. He will not divide us. It's on his main channel. And it's part of
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
It's part of like a 4 or 5 part series.
Ooh, I don't think I've gone back that far. I just watched My Immortal parts 1 and 2 and 3. Have you?
I don't think so. I don't think I've seen those.
It's the funniest shit. Honestly, it makes me want to do content like that. First of all, the fact that he does the animations in Photoshop.
Oh my god.
He just clicks and drags.
Yes.
It's like. That's better than I would spend like 6 months learning how to animate it. It wouldn't look as good, and it also wouldn't be funny. But that does the trick of like, just take a JPEG and do this with it. you see like the plus 37 pixels. And it just doesn't matter. It's fucking hilarious.
Yep.
But My Immortal it's like a fan fiction around Harry Potter.
Oh my god.
It's like a vampire, and there's like this goth chick, but it's basically like he's like reading like someone's story from like Reddit or something. It's fucking hilarious. And he's just got other people on there that are like doing the voices, and they're laughing at it while they're recording. It's fucking gold, dude.
The No Man's Sky video and the Fallout 76 video are both like S tier, some of the best content ever put out on YouTube.
That was the first thing I saw was the No Man's Sky video.
Both of those videos are so good. And
it very much reminded me of DJ Peach Cobbler, because it was essentially like, here's the story and the narrative that you're fed, but then also a lot of the annoying criticism and bullshit that we all feel. But then now here's where we're all wrong, and here's a realistic, pragmatic look, and I'm like, holy fuck.
Yep. You can't look away. Because the whole first time you're like in it because you're like, this sucked. Yeah, I want to hear this. I want to hear this story. And then he flips it on you, and you can't look away because you're like, I was wrong about everything. It wasn't his fault. And you're just like, and then the Fallout 76 one was just so great because there wasn't a whole lot of redemption there. It was just like, Bethesda sucks, and you're just like super bought in because you're like, oh, interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. So I love the concept for this segment. I'm gonna watch the Balloon Boy Internet Historian videos because I'm super excited about that. Before we go, I was gonna talk to you about this before we knew there was gonna be Tarkov news. Like, this was gonna be one of my points for the podcast, and then I heard you played it. But Desmond told me you played Apex Legends Arena mode. How did you feel about it?
It was fun. It was cool. It was just like
I've been like dabbling in like some other games. Like, I've been playing some Warzone, and I played some Apex. I'm dog trash at Apex. Like, holy cow. Like, that has to be your main game to be like, oh, I'm just so bad. But then we played the Arena, bro. The Arena is the most fun I've had playing video games the past like 2 months. It just, it's everything I want it to be. It's like, I don't care when I die because I'm not losing anything. But it's not like it takes me 4 minutes to queue up from a map, 3 minutes to pick where we're going to land, another minute to land, 6 minutes of me going, I can't find a gun, I can't find a gun, I can't find a gun. Well, he has a sniper, I'm dead. And then we re-queue. It's like, I get in, I buy the gun I want, I go in, it's 3v3, and like, mechanically in 2 hours, I went from being dog trash at that game to like clutching 1v3s and winning
because
us
the
round.
repetition of just being able to like play constantly as a
yes.
I mean, it's the same reason why like loadouts and shit would be better in Tarkov, because you just get in and get in and get in and get better and enjoy it more. Yeah.
So like I like, because it's different from Tarkov, not because it's similar, because it's different. I like the movement. I like the crouch slide. I like how quick everything is. I like the way the guns feel. I like the recoil. Yeah. And now I get to go in, pick the exact gun I want, fight a 3-man immediately, and just keep doing that, rinse, repeat. It was so much fun. And I was going to tell you to do it because it's some weird hybrid between like Valorant with the buy phase and everything, but like Valorant's much more like the map
like PUBG
layouts
meets CSGO, but with the nice movement and mechanics of Apex.
Because Valorant and CS are much more like you need to know the map, you need to own the map, you know there's callouts for everything, you know they're coming down here. And this is like the casual version of that. So I was just, before I knew you played it, I was interested in just to see if you'd be interested, because it's like just the light version where you can just throw away a few hours having fun with 2 other homies and just be like, and just not worry about I lost all my gear or the netcode cucked me. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh yeah, we just played some games. Like,
so. Sure. I mean, it was definitely a lot of fun, and I forgot that it was free to play, which is still crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how much I'll be playing it. That's not because it's bad, because it's like the same reason why I don't play like a lot of the COD or Battlefield games anymore right now. Just because, like, I'm just not really in the mood for this type of shooter right now. But at some point, I mean, for all I know, it could be my fucking main game, at some point. I doubt it. But, I mean, I give it, like, an 8 out of 10.
And that was the thing. That's how I viewed Apex Legends, like the BR. I played the BR, and I was like, that was fun. That's a quality game. It's a really good game. I don't really feel like playing that all that much because I'm just so trash. I spend so much time in the lobby.
But we started too late, so we're way behind.
But it's exactly. But like, it was one of those things where it's like, it's an objectively good game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. But then I played Arena, and I think that like, whenever, like at the end of the night or whenever I don't feel like playing Tarkov, I think that'll be my main, just because I have been like, I missed the boat, right? You played PUBG, you played some of these other shooters prior to Tarkov. I missed the boat. I went straight into Tarkov. I've never really gotten into a BR or arena shooter or anything on PC.
Dude.
Exactly. So I just was interested to hear what you had to say. So because it was super fun. So
it'll be a good, like, there's nothing else to play, chill.
100%.
Which, like, right now I use Mordhau for.
Yeah.
Only because, like, I like the rounds because I have downtime to like pick up the guitar and twang on it for like 30 seconds, or whatever,
Yeah. And Mordhau you can do solo, right? You can just like hop in and slay out and like chill with chat. Like if you were gonna play Apex Arenas, you kind of need to like have a buddy or two, or else you're just gonna keep losing. You know what I mean? So like I heard you play with Desmond and Fluven, and you know what I mean. So I totally get. Sometimes you just want the vibe where you're just like soloing it with chat. You know what I mean? But yeah. But yeah, this was a long one. We had a lot to get through with all the Tarkov stuff. I feel like, you said it best earlier, where it's like, man, if you want us to talk about Tarkov, this is what you're going to get. You know what I mean? So 12.11 is imminent. You know, he said most likely not May, early June, no wipe. You can feel how you want to feel about that. But thanks for hanging with us. It was good to, get a little bit of information about Tarkov today. And I'm excited about some of this other cool stuff, like the segment and some of the community engagement. So once again, we'll link that Anchor link. Like if you were in chat earlier, we put it in chat, but we'll link the Anchor link in the description of this video. So if you're listening or watching, you'll be able to see that. And weekly show. Hopefully, if we get some Tarkov updates soon, we'll have some more Tarkov guests and do some more stuff like that. But it'll be cool to explore some other cool stuff that we're interested in as well. Thank you guys for hanging with us, and we will see y'all on the next one.
Peace.
Get a little higher every time. Who'll put a question mark on the teleprompter? Oh my God. Peace.